Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Zevy here, back at it again with yet another banger of a what if. This being, what if Deku was Mikey's reincarnation? Now, I know a lot of Tokyo Revengers fans clicked on this video because this is the new anime that has been popping recently. This anime is filled with nothing but black Air Force energy. Therefore, you boys already know, Deku is going to be filled with a whole lot of that. A whole lot of attitude and a whole lot of hands. Because this man finna be throwing bodies. He finna be folding mans like lawn chairs, and it's just gonna be an insane series. So if you're hyped, make sure you guys share the video with a friend, leave a like on the video, and with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so obviously we're going to be starting off the video with Deku's backstory. Now, many of you guys are probably going to be like, alright, Zether, what are you about to do? What are you up to? Are you going to introduce the Tokyo Manja Gang? And to that question, you guys are just going to have to find out. Some of you guys may like the answer, some of you guys may not. However, it's my choice. That being said, this is when we're all going to start. Okay, so obviously Deku is of course going to be born just like in the original canon, and in this version of events, the only big change to this part of the story is essentially going to be that of course Deku is of course going to be looking like Mikey. Since you know he is his reincarnation, I figured I might as well give him those sexy looks. Because my man Mikey is, you know what, he looks pretty good, you know, no homo, like I got socks on, I swear, boys. So, you know, in case you're doubting me, I promise, boys, I have socks on. But anyways, that being said, Deku is, well, another big change to the story, other than, you know, of course, the fact that, you know, he's not going to be, well, looking like Deku, but however, he's going to be looking like Mikey, is basically going to be that Deku's childhood is going to be a lot different than in canon. See, in this version of events, Deku's dad isn't going to basically be what we all know and love. See, the reason that Deku kind of looks like Mikey is because his dad has blonde hair and black eyes, and Deku just so happened to inherit that. That being said, of course, Deku will not be living in the same neighborhood that he did in canon. See, in this version, Deku was going to be living on the sort of baddish part of town. See, Deku isn't going to grow up in the neighborhood that he grew up in, which, you know, it just looks like a goody two-shoes neighborhood, honestly. Meaning that he's not going to be growing up anywhere near Bakugo. He's probably going to be growing up a solid, let's say, like a solid 30 minutes away from Bakugo's area, which is a pretty decent distance when you really think about it. That being said, that pretty much means that Deku and Bakugo won't be meeting until way later on down the road when Bakugo tries to test Deku. That being said, this is when I am now going to be introducing his father and mother. See, Deku's mom in this version of events would have actually ended up passing due to her giving birth to Deku. On that very same day, the pain was too much for her and she ended up passing away. That being said, his father was actually stuck with raising Deku. However, when he was raising Deku, he was also affiliated with a gang. This gang being the Black Dragons. Yeah, it's not very good, man. Not very good. And just to put it lightly, his father will die when he's 8 years old. Meaning that after that point, Deku will be put into an orphanage. And this would basically be when Deku would proceed to essentially go into an orphanage. Where, well, let's just say that a couple months later, Deku was adopted by a martial artist by the name of Rogue X. Bro, I'm about to steal that crispy Saijima name because that thing is crispy and I could not think of another name. So I just kind of decided to name this man Saijima. So it's like, I appreciate you, Rogue. I'm going to use this and, you know, hopefully it doesn't backlash on me. Hopefully some of your fans aren't down in the comments writing down below right now like, how dare you use Rogue X's name? Like, you don't even know him like that. Just completely having an entire, like, hysteria attack going on in the comments down below. If you guys see any of those, please roast them. Unless Rogue is the one who, of course, says that. Then, you know, of course, my bad, Rogue. Anyways. That being said, this is when, of course, his father will, of course, end up passing, and Deku will end up being adopted by a martial artist by the name of Saijima. See, now Saijima will be, like, he'll be around the age of Deku's, like, grandfather. He'll be around the age of a grandfather, right? And this would basically be when Deku would kind of get picked out, not necessarily because he saw something special in him, But because when, Saejima actually went to the orphanage, he saw that Deku was getting picked on, and he actually ended up taking down 3 of the kids who were trying to bully him. And the reason that they were trying to bully him is because Deku is in fact going to be a late bloomer when it comes towards getting his quirk, meaning that Deku will get picked on until he's about at the age of 6 years old for being quirkless. And Deku, by the time that he's 6 years old, is honestly just used to it, to be honest. Like, this is just kind of oh wait, no, he's not even in the orphanage yet. Let's see, he went into the orphanage when he was 8 years old. 3 months pass, he's 8, and he still doesn't have his quirk at 8 years old. Okay, yeah, that makes a little more sense. Anyways, of course, Deku would get picked on by a lot of the other kids due to the fact that, well, he doesn't have a quirk. However, Deku would never take any of these taunts or, these little things that kids do. He will not take this teasing lightly, and Deku always fights back. See, when his father was raising him, Deku never saw his father to be a man who could take on everybody or someone who in general was very powerful. He was very strong-willed and had a lot of very powerful people around him. And in case you guys don't know what I'm trying to do, I'm basically getting at, I'm giving his father Mikey's brother's personality, as I guess you could say. That being said, this would basically lead to Deku, well, getting adopted by Saejima, and of course getting trained after he sees the potential within Deku. This is when we are going to be having a time skip to the day of the original start of the anime, to which Deku at this point will be 16 years old. Now, it's at this point that Deku would basically just continue to get trained and all this stuff by his adoptive father figure, but he kind of just calls him Gramps. And he always trains Deku on a day-to-day basis. That being said, Deku would now be at middle school age, and he would of course be rocking that Mikey look. This is when Deku was about to go into high school, and it's at this point that gang affiliation and stuff like that would actually start around this time of, day, I guess you could say, like this point in time, right? This is where all that stuff is basically going to start. Now, this is when, of course, Deku would basically start, getting trained even harder by his grandfather due to the fact that, well, he knows that he's about to get into that sort of age range, and he just wants him to be ready, even though he already is like so ready and so prepared for it, because this man Deku is just on a different level compared to the other kids. Because yeah, you guys saw what Mikey was able to do in the anime at just the age of, what was it? I believe it was 13. Yeah, 13 or 14 years old. The man was able to do all that at just 13 and 14 years old. So imagine what he can do in a world where people have quirks and people are just overall more physically powerful and everything. People are more adept to having special abilities. The fact that he doesn't have one quite yet basically means that Deku is, well, a lot further than all the other kids when it comes to physical ability. Deku is still going to be at the same height that Mikey is in the original, and for that, many people will actually take him lightly. A lot of times when Deku would used to get into fights, people would underestimate him due to his height disadvantage, and people would almost always end up losing to that roundhouse kick of his. That being said, this is when Deku would, well, be 16 years old, and it's at this point that Deku would be going into his first day of high school. On this specific day, Deku would be eating at the cafeteria by himself, just like he would any other day, and Deku would just be thinking about his father on this particular day. This is when school would basically end, and it's at this point that a boy by the name of let's say Draco. How do I say it exactly? Hold on, I'm gonna have to hold on. Give me a second, boys, because if I don't say this name properly, you guys are going to crucify me down below in the comments. I just know it. Okay, I'm back. Okay, yeah, I was right. It's Draken. Anyways, Deku would meet a boy by the name of Draken, as he is actually in his junior year, while Deku is, well, he's in his first year of high school. Now, this is when Deku would basically be approached by him, and it would be an encounter very similar to the one in the anime, where Draken was basically just like, hey man, come with me. And Deku just took an interest in him, so he decided to follow him, and he basically proceeded to whoop some ass after he basically saw what the reasoning was. He was like, dude, what's a guy like as amazing as you doing hanging out with these losers? As after that day, Draken and Mikey, or Deku, basically begin becoming friends. And it's at this point that I'm kind of just going to be having a little bit of a tiny time skip. See, over this time, Deku would have started getting more and more involved in, well, activities during the nighttime, and the same activities that, well, he partook in the original anime of what's it called, of Tokyo Revengers. See, I don't know if I can even say the GANG word, because honestly I don't know if I'll get a yellow check for that, because if I get a yellow check I probably won't make any money off of this video. But that being said, Deku starts doing that stuff, and this is what basically leads to Deku essentially just growing up around more of that crowd. That being said, Deku started getting even more strong, and due to the fact that people in Quirk started becoming more and more of a focal point, Deku ended up having to step up his training, as well as add weaponry to his arsenal. See, because nowadays his fighting ability was of course top notch. However, what was he going to do against long range quirk users who he just simply could not get close to? Martial arts can only take you so far. So Deku started just carrying a 9 with him, and it's definitely gonna help out for later. Anyways, that being said, this is when we're going to basically jump to the day where Deku is pretty much a sophomore, let's say a junior in high school. It's around the middle of junior year in high school, and in this version of events, in case you guys are wondering, yes, what's it called? Yes, UA is going to be a college in this version of events. I don't know why I keep stuttering so much, but UA is going to be a college in this version of events. That being said, Deku would of course have to go to normal high school, and during this time, they would end up getting into some deep stuff with the different affiliation. I'm just gonna say affiliation instead of the GANG word, because I don't know if I'll get demonetized for that. But anyways, that being said, this is when he would basically go up to them, because they basically arranged a meeting where they were going to kind of compromise and just kind of have it so that they can both live. But instead of that, what would end up actually happening was that Mikey and Draken pulled up. However, it was a complete setup, and they ended up doing what they would have done to Draken in the original anime, which is of course put that man on a t-shirt, because that's exactly what they did to him on the real Tokyo Revengers timeline. That being said, after he was put onto the t-shirt and Deku saw that with his own eyes, Deku got insane. And after he saw Draken die right before his eyes, he immediately just had his aura explode as a purple energy manifested in front of him, and Deku's willpower skyrocketed. Deku unlocked his quirk. This quirk is going to work in a similar fashion to hockey, where essentially the stronger the will of a person is, the stronger they can get. Meaning that the stronger his will is in a fight, let's say he does not want to lose and he wants to win at all costs, his strength is just going to multiply and keep going until it reaches its max potential, which is just completely broken once I explain the quirk a little bit more. That being said, Deku will of course be going through this stuff, and well, Deku would basically whoop every single member of that affiliation, which would lead to Deku pretty much GGing the leader. He would put that man on a t-shirt and say, you know what, he did that to Draken. I think he would want this, as he would aim it at his head and immediately just pull the trigger. This is when he would proceed to run out of there, seeing as he would hear some sirens and he would get out of that situation as fast as possible. This is when we are now going to be having 1.5 years left of Deku's high school career, until he finally has to decide what it is he's going to be doing with his life. See, in this version of events, Deku is of course still going to be in the Tokyo Manji, that stuff. However, the thing is though, that Deku is not exactly going to be staying there for long. After the passing of Draken, Deku started losing himself slowly, because without somebody to keep him centered or keep him down to his morality, Deku is kind of just a wild dog without a leash, and therefore Deku went crazy. After losing Draken, Deku basically stopped just completely attending the martial arts lesson of his grandfather, and he started taking in other lessons, very dangerous martial arts styles, as well as weaponry combat. And by that I mean like small knives and weaponry, advanced weaponry. That being said, this is when Deku would basically proceed to, well, essentially just start getting stronger and stronger. And over the next 2 months, over the next 2 years essentially, which is also going to cut into the 10 months, Deku would basically be hunting down each and every single member from the affiliation which took Draken's life, as well as taking jobs for money. At that point, Deku would have moved out of Saijima's place because Saijima would have ended up passing about let's say 3 months after Draken's death. And after losing both of the role models in his life, Deku just started going just completely haywire. Deku ended up taking ownership over the dojo, and now he lives alone. That being said, Deku now makes his money by basically taking higher jobs to take people out for them. Like, let's say there's someone you don't like, you just give Deku a call and he will eliminate them, basically, is what his job is. He's a mercenary, I guess you could say. Yeah, he's a mercenary. That being said, Deku will, of course, be getting a call one day by the end of the 2-year time skip, which I'm now going to be giving, leading to Deku being at around the age of 18 years old at this point. Deku is going to be 18, seeing as we are already in the 10-month training, and Deku will now be 18 at this point. That being said, this is when Deku would basically get a call from somebody telling him that today they have quite the offer for him. They want him to take down one of the most powerful heroes. They want him to actually try to take down a top 10. This would lead it to Deku just being like, so this is what you want? And the man would tell him yes. Now, in case a lot of you guys are probably wondering what this job is going to be, oh, you're about to see, because Deku's about to bite off way more than he can chew. See, his target is Shota Aizawa, and the man responsible for calling him is a affiliation boss who pretty much wants him gone because he's been messing with his plans for a fat minute now. That being said, Deku accepts the job offer and gets suited up. He would of course be wearing the Tokyo Manji outfit as well as some weaponry on his wrist. If you guys know Black Widow's like weapons, how she has like the thing on her wrist, he basically has guns on his wrist is basically what he has, as well as a bunch of gadgets within this the jacket that he wears. I said a bunch of jackets within the jackets. Oh my god, that is not it. Gadgets within the jackets. See, I did it. See, I said it right. Anyways, that being said, of course, Deku would basically start tracking down Aizawa, and seeing the fact that he always fights during the nighttime, he would proceed to provoke him there by mugging somebody. Of course, Aizawa was aware of this and immediately jumped into action to try to stop Deku. However, the second that he did, Deku immediately threw a smoke bomb at the ground as it went everywhere, and Aizawa was not able to pinpoint Deku's location. He would immediately get punched from the left as Aizawa would drop to the ground. Deku would then come in from the right side and punch Aizawa square in the jaw, proceeding to Aizawa getting flung away. And it's at this point that Deku would basically rush at Aizawa once more as he was going in to unleash a devastating kick. However, before he could land it, Aizawa would proceed to basically turn off Deku's quirk, even though he wasn't using anything, and Deku, just feeling the absence of something within him, just stopped for a second. That gave Aizawa just enough time to basically rush at Deku and grab him by the legs as he would drop him down to the ground. Deku would then do a backflip as he would then proceed to throw a bunch of pellets on the ground and jump on top of the roof using a grappling hook. This is when Deku would basically proceed to jump down as one bullet would pierce straight through Aizawa's foot as it would proceed to limit Aizawa's movement. And it's at this point that Deku would basically just go crazy after this as he would land a devastating blow on Aizawa's head. This would lead to Deku successfully getting the job done. And this is when Deku would basically proceed to grab Aizawa by the hair as he would call his employer and say it's done. He needs all the money now. As he would proceed to send him the rest of the money, Deku would then proceed to smile and say, I'm not going to do this for a favor. You always were my favorite hero. As he would proceed to leave Aizawa there. However, right as he did that was a bad choice. Deku would have begun to go away from the area. However, this is when heroes who heard the commotion would end up arriving. And this is when Deku would get caught off guard by a bunch of different heroes. See, of course, a bunch of small heroes would come. However, there would be 2 heroes who would definitely caught Deku's attention. Best Genius as well as Endeavor. They came to catch a villain which is notorious within the top 10 heroes. A lot of people don't even know of his existence. And this hero, and this vigilante, I guess you could say, or merc, is basically Mikey. Mikey, I don't know his last name. Mikey Midoriya. Yeah, Mikey Midoriya, of course. But it's not actually his real name, so we're just going to say his name is Manji? I don't know. Maybe something like that. I don't know, but anyways, he has a cool name, all right? That bottom line, he has a cool name, right? And he's been doing a lot of naughty stuff, right? That being said, the government would basically take Deku into custody. However, this is when a very, very special event will now be going on. See, at this point, Deku would have actually ended up having his hair dyed black. After the death of Draken, he would have ended up changing his look, as well as adding that same tattoo that Draken has. However, he would add it on the side of his neck, and it actually looks kind of clean, not gonna lie. That being said, Deku, of course, ends up going to prison. However, he stays there for about 2 weeks until miraculously his cell opens. Deku would walk outside as there would be 0 guards and 0 everything. This is when a man would tell Deku to grab his hand, to which Deku would, and they would immediately proceed to bust Deku out of the prison. This is when they would offer him a deal to become a pro hero for hire, which will take down villains for, well, his liberty. He needs to work for them to attain his freedom again. And Deku, after hearing that offer, and being like, alright, so you mean to tell me I get to keep doing what I've been doing and I get out? And they're just like, yeah, precisely. Deku would be like, well, I mean, that's a great deal if I've ever heard one. And they just be like, right? This is when Deku would just be like, yup. Alright, anyways. This is when Deku would be like, yeah, sounds like a pretty crispy deal. As Deku would, well, proceed to pretty much accept this offer. This would lead to Deku pretty much being offered the best equipment that he can possibly have. Since Deku is going to be having to go into UA to get his hero license, because, you know, they can't just give it to him because people are going to be like, where'd he get it from? And people are just going to be like, wait, where did he get it from, you know? So he does have to actually go to hero school. That being said, he has to also examine what future heroes are like, because what if one of them goes rogue? Deku needs to be able to handle the task, and that's why they send him to school mostly. Also, you know, the licenses, you know, it's still a little something, but they could have honestly just pulled some strings. That being said, this is when Deku would have about 1 month to get ready for UA's entrance exam. During that month, Deku would be told that he's not exactly going to be able to use the advanced weaponry that he's always had access to. So if they were him, they would of course get up to par with their training. That would lead to Deku doing that, and during that 1 month, Deku would dye his hair back to blonde due to the fact that he needs a different look. Or no, not dye his hair back to blonde, but get rid of the black. He would cut off the black hair because, you know, it was pretty disturbing. And Deku would, at this point, he only had like black tips, so he would cut off the rest of it. And now, because, you know, probably a lot of you guys are going to be like, yo, what do you mean he cut off the black hair? Doesn't that mean he's bald now? And no, I do not want him to be bald. Deku is basically going to be looking like the image of what's it called, Mikey, that I pretty much have up on screen. The one on the thumbnail. Wait, I'm pretty sure I don't have him up on screen. I'm pretty sure I honestly moved them, but you get what I'm saying. He pretty much looks like the one in the thumbnail. He just looks like Mikey, just older version. Hold on. He basically looks like the Mikey that was with the future Tokyo Manji gang, which is pretty much what Deku looks like. That being said, this is when Deku would basically continue to train for about the 1 month, and this is when we are now going to be skipping on to the day of the UA entrance exams. See, this is when at this point Deku was basically going to walk inside, and Deku was not exactly going to be having any altercations with Uraraka. There will be none of that going on. Deku just immediately walks inside because nobody there interests him, so Deku is not going to talk to them. I mean, you never see Mikey talking to anybody who he doesn't view as interesting. So Deku would walk inside, and Deku would not mumble a single word. He would be sitting away from the area that Bakugo's at, so there would be nobody there for Deku to be interested in. And it's at this point that Deku would basically proceed to just, what's it called? Oh, wow. I went away from my mic a whole lot. In case my audio quality went down for a bit, I do apologize. That being said, Deku, of course, basically proceeded to do his exam. And due to the fact that Deku's not dumb by any means, he ends up acing it. That being said, Deku would prepare himself for the outside portion of the exam, which is basically him going outside and destroying a bunch of robots. That being said, after getting ready with all that stuff, Deku would basically proceed to essentially go outside to the robot portion, and this is where he would proceed to wait. Of course, Deku would decide that it's probably going to be the smartest decision to go up to the front, and this is when a boy with blue hair would stop Deku. He would say, hey, stop right there. I'm not going to let you go over there and bother that girl. Deku would turn his attention towards Ida as he would just be like, huh? And Ida would be looking at him as he's grabbing his shoulder. Deku would immediately just see that he's touching him, and Deku would just give him a glare as immediately he would roundhouse kick Ida as he smashes his skull into the ground in a Mikey fashion, as Ida just got dusted. Like, that man Ida got destroyed. He could not react in time to Deku's fast, immediate, like just immensely fast blow, and Ida got knocked the F out. Like, this man was really hit with the meme that goes, let him get up, let him get up. You know, he basically got hit with that. And it's at this point that Deku just basically said, don't touch me, as he walked away, and a bunch of kids saw that. President Mike would have also seen that and just be like, do I say anything? And this is when he would have just been like, go, go, go. Ida would basically proceed to get back up as he gets angry, and that ends up leading to Ida getting 7 less points than he does in the original, because that man got bodied to begin with. So his energy supplies, yeah, they were eating at him to basically try to heal himself. That being said, this is when Ida would basically proceed to go in there and get about 10 less points than he got in the original, and everybody else would basically get the same points that they got. Deku, however, would go inside to the robot portion and start obliterating robots left and right. There would be no robot that's safe from the hands that Deku has, and robots would just start getting obliterated left and right. Deku would start going insane as robots would start just completely getting decimated. Deku would basically proceed to just destroy robots on command, and Deku would of course be allowed to use his weaponry because it's robots, not humans. So Deku is he's doing those robots dirty, to say the very absolute minimum. That being said, Deku would proceed to get a lot more points, and it's at this point that Deku would basically be walking away as explosions could just be heard coming in from far away. Deku would then proceed to basically grab his bag and stuff and just dip out of there as a 0-pointer gets called up about 20 seconds after that. But Deku is not there to save Uraraka. He was just there to pass. Deku ended up racking up a total amount of 200 points, and after that, Deku basically grabs his stuff and decides, it's about time that I leave, as Deku would proceed to walk away. And if you guys want to see what happens on the next part of What If Deku Was Mikey's Reincarnation, you guys are going to be having to hit a whopping like goal of let's see, I'm gonna go with 1,000 likes. You guys are going to be needing it to hit a like goal of 1,000 likes if you guys want the next part for this to drop as soon as possible. If not, then you guys are just going to have to wait for me to feel like making it, and then you'll finally get it. That being said, it has been your boy Zether. Thank you guys so much for getting me to 19K. I have acknowledged it. However, you know, your boy, he's kind of on a time restriction because, you know, school is a thing. And, you know, I can't exactly just not, you know, care about that, as well as, you know, going to the gym and all that stuff. Your boy's life is a little busy right now, which is why the videos have been a little slow. However, I promise to get on my daily grind yet again. That being said, though, guys, if you guys like the video, or, you know, the storyline and how I've basically taken this whole little thing in the direction that it's going, make sure you guys leave a like down below if you want the next part, as well as subscribe in case you were new. And with that being said, it has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.